Hi. Very recently, Vikas Rachamala, who is a motor blogger from Hyderabad, India, put out a video talking about the importance of putting on the helmet for your child when riding as a pillion on your two-wheeler. He also highlighted the commonplace scenario where the parents put on a helmet, but they don't put one on for their child for the children who are riding pillion, and it's very common here in India. I'm sure it's common other places of the world as well. This topic is close to my heart as well, and I just wanted to add my 2 cents here. Presently, in this time frame, at the time of this video, availability of quality kids riding and safety gear in India is very limited. However, there are a few decent options for helmets at least, and I have linked in the description the two helmets I have used so far for my child, who's about 4 years old. Apart from the helmet, I wanted to mention a couple of things. So, experienced riders know the importance of having some form of armor protection to keep the joints safe in the event of a crash. Since getting hold of a proper riding jacket is for your 2 to 10-year-old kid in India is difficult, one option is that I have is that you can pick up a good quality skating protection kit. It's not the best option, but it's still an option. And it will provide a usable option for elbow and knee protection because it's made of hard plastic. It's not CE approved or anything. I don't know about that. But if you use a decent kit like the one I use from Decathlon, it works pretty well. Now, so this takes care of the kids' knees and elbows. Another important part is the shoulder. And for the shoulders, one option that I have used in the past, and as I'm using right now also, is actually to use an adult elbow guard in one of the riding jackets, or you can buy a protection kit separately, which provides which provides elbow and knee protection. So an adult elbow guard can actually be used as a shoulder guard for your kid, because the elbow guard typically is of a smaller size, and it fits the shoulder guard, and it's flexible enough to move, and it covers quite a bit of the shoulder and the arm. So so that's an option that you can use. Finally, for back protection, you can pick up a CE approved back protection insert. These are foam inserts or soft gel type inserts or something, and the foam ones are good because then you can use a scissor to trim them to an appropriate size for your child, and it helps to provide the back protection as well. Now, you add a bit of ingenuity and frugal ingenuity, what is called the Indian jugaad, and you can get something that's fairly decent working. So, for example, here's my son's jacket that I have retrofitted with the armor from my old riding jacket. I reused the back protector. I used the elbow guards as shoulder guards, and everything has been it's all velcroed, and there's a lot of velcro, so it's good quality velcro, so it's super velcroed. But the jacket itself is the weakest part because it's plain textile, and I plan to change it to a tougher jacket, preferably leather, as soon as I can. And then I will just take this armor and put it in the leather jacket. And once he grows out of it, the armor can still be used for some, as and when he continues to ride, we'll put it in the other jacket. So it's not a one-time thing. It can be reused again and again. Apart from this, in my opinion, a very important aspect that is almost always overlooked while taking children as pillion is whether they are anchored properly. Now, and when you're considering anchoring, right, you have to think about it from a 360-degree point of view, not just how they are seated, not just where they are sitting. Foot and hand placement are very important. I see kids dangling on seats all the time, and their feet are small and they're unable to reach the foot pegs, and their small hands are very ineffectively trying to grab at either the rider or some part of the bike or some part of the vehicle. And even a small sudden jerk due to either hard braking, hard acceleration, steering to avoid some pothole, that is enough to break that anchor. And for a child, that can be very, it's very dangerous, because the child can just simply slide off the bike. And so what I highly recommend is that you buy a decent child harness, and these are available easily from decent baby stores, baby product stores. It's a basic harness. This is the one that I use, and use that to you put the harness on the child over his jacket or whatever, and you use the loops to securely, and you put the loops on your either belt or the belt hoops or the belt loops, and then you buckle the harness. You basically buckle the child to you using the harness, and that provides a very decent anchor point. It's like a last ditch in case the child falls asleep or for some reason he's not able to hold. So this will prevent the child from disengaging from you, because as long as you are on the bike, the child is with you. He's hanging on to you. So that really helps. And this is equally applicable when the child is sitting in the back, riding in the back, or in the front. In both cases, it's equally applicable, because there are times when I see a kid flopped over the tank, and in case you brake hard, the child is just going to fly off. So it does. You don't even actually have to get into an accident for the child to get hurt. See, it's different for adults. The adults get hurt when they get thrown off the vehicle or when they fall, etc. Right? For a child, even a hard braking or just a quick jerk to move around is enough for a child to either slide off if he's not anchored, he or she's not anchored properly. That is enough to cause serious harm to the child. So you have to be careful about that. Of course, you can always pick up something custom built for your custom built for biking for your child. If you go abroad, etc., you can always pick up something decent, or you can import something, or you can visit some of the superbike stores in your area, in your city, and maybe you can ask them to source something or find something that is already available. So these are all the options that are there. I am yet to find decent gloves for my kid, because the important thing there is that the kid should be able to hold things effectively. And since small kids have small hands, and I'm talking 2 to 7 year old, my kid is 4 years old, so I'm talking from that perspective. They have small fingers, so anything that hinders them grasping is not good. So finding well-fitting gloves is a huge challenge for them. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. My ideas on improving child safety, and also showing the stuff that I have for my child. I will also mention one of my biggest problems with regards to child safety in vehicles in India. Common suggestion I hear is, don't ride the bike, use the car. While it's true that some of the basic dangers, for example, losing balance and falling, not having some sort of a buffer zone between you and the environment, or some other vehicle, or in the event of a crash or something, you don't have any buffer zone. There's no external protection. So those problems obviously are those dangers are reduced because they are not present in a car. But my biggest problem is that even though certain things are removed from the equation, my biggest problem with that statement and that line of thinking without any further thought to it, okay, I agree with the basic fact that using a car is safer in many ways, but without any additional thought, it spreads a false sense of security, and that is a huge problem. That is my problem. For example, right, the sheer number of cars I see with kids, okay, traveling with kids as passengers in the car, and they are in the front seat, with or without a passenger, and they're not using proper seat belts. They're not using proper a child seat, because for smaller kids you need to use a child seat, because if you put the seat belt directly on the child, in the event of a impact, or any time when the seatbelt restrains the child's bones are very weak, so they can get compressed, they can break, the internal organs can get injured. So you need to use a child seat as a brace for providing protection. So if it unless just using a car is not enough, right? Because for a child so the concept of anchoring, right, that I explained earlier for the two-wheeler is equally important and equally applicable for even a car. In fact, it's applicable for any vehicle that you use, right? So in a car, if your child is unanchored, right, and you don't have to actually get into an accident, you brake hard, you accelerate hard, you swerve hard to avoid something, right? And if your child is unanchored and he's unsupervised, right, he can slide off the seat, he can hit his head on the glass, on the front, on the dashboard. The child, you may not get into an accident, but the child will still be injured and it will still hurt, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is traveling in any form of vehicle, any mode of transport, has a certain amount of risk associated with it. Okay. It is important that we spend some time, effort, and money to think through these things and reduce and improve the safety for the particular mode of travel that you're using. And this applies equally to using a two-wheeler or a three-wheeler or a four-wheeler or a train or a bus or an aeroplane. There's an inherent risk with or ships for that matter. So there's an inherent risk with any mode of travel, right? They may be different overall, they may be different, right? But from a child's perspective, you need to, when we're talking about children specifically as passengers, as pillions, as riders, you, for the particular mode that you're going to use, you need to think through it. Not just that, oh, okay, I'm going to use a car. That, sure, you're reducing some of the dangers, but you're not completely safe. So if you really want to be safe, then you need to put in more thought, think through these things, anchor your child well, use protection, the kind of protection that is appropriate for the particular vehicle, and that is when your kids will be safe. So that's all I wanted to say about this, and thanks for watching, and ride safe.